All right, what's up, party people? My name is Sunny Ray. This is the Sunny Ray Show. Uh, I've got a very interesting guest now. He'll be the second interview for the day. His name is Ben. I would say we're in friend category. He's someone that I met at Max and Stacy's Bitcoin event in El Salvador about a year or two ago, and we just got along since then, and a chance to meet his father as well. So he's actually one of the guys that's behind building Industry Day for the Canadian Bitcoin Conference in 2026, which is coming up later this year in October. So you need to get your tickets if you haven't. We'll be talking about that for sure. Ben is a Canadian real estate mogul broker who spent his career selling property and is now selling the last of it to go all in on Bitcoin. He's worked as a real estate agent and around a family that knows the business. That builder instinct and a career spent pricing, financing, and trading hard assets is the lens that he brings to Sound Money. I saw him in action at the last Canadian Bitcoin conference on stage. The guy's got aura like you wouldn't believe. Ben, what's up, buddy?
Not much. Having fun traveling down into the U.S., heading to Camp Nakamoto. So I'm on my Bitcoin conference circuit. So nope, doing great, and thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, I feel like you're becoming like a Bitcoin monk or something. Like you're at all the events, you've got the gear, like more than anyone, at least that I've come across and in all these micro strategy conversations, and you're in it to win it, buddy. I love it.
I appreciate that. I when I when I went into Bitcoin, it's about 5 years now. And I went down the rabbit hole with my father, and I've always kind of I've always held my father in high regard when it comes to how he views the world, and he's quite intelligent. So when I came across Bitcoin, it was just like a whole nother vocabulary, and it was just so confusing. I probably didn't do it, quote unquote, the right way. And I kind of dove into Saifedean's podcast, not reading his book first, the Bitcoin Standard. That would have been, I gave myself the goal of like listening to it. It was like 100 and some odd episodes at the time. And so he's throwing out words like decentral and protocol and difficulty adjustment and all these things that I was just like, what is he talking about? And my intellectual curiosity really peaked. And so after I, then did, give myself permission to buy and read his book, I was just like, wow. So I bought my dad 21 Bitcoin books for Christmas, and I slid it over, pointed at the top one, and said, "Read this one first." It was obviously the Bitcoin Standard. And then I took 7 off the bottom, and said, "Hey, you'll get these when you get through the rest." And so I was just kind of getting my feet wet, dipping my toes in. And then it was maybe about 2 months later, my dad called me and he was just like, "We got to buy Bitcoin." And I was like, "Really? Like you see what I see? You're not kind of just saying that?" He says, "No, this is what I've been searching for without knowing I was searching for it." Right. And so ever since then, like we went from talking, once a week, how's your golf game, to we talked every single day for probably almost 2 years. And really, we still call each other almost every day, just solely to talk about Bitcoin. So we just kept going through the books and kept, talking about, the implications of this technology and what it means for society. And we really kind of took that lens of it. And, after some time, well, again, it's been 5 years, have been, increasing my education. So yeah, to kind of get to where I was saying and bring it back to the conference circuit, early on, I said, the 3 most asymmetric opportunities outside AI, which, I'm going to get your help on that. because I'm still probably, well, I'm not using AI to its fullest potential. But I said the most asymmetric opportunities right now is study Bitcoin, acquire Bitcoin correctly, and then network with Bitcoiners. So I kind of feel like I'm on that third stage where I'm really just trying to focus on getting plugged into the community. And maybe the fourth step will be to, build your resume and promote yourself in this space. And so that's going to be the next step. And I'm taking your lead on that. So thank you very much for having me on the show.
Well, actually, technically, you're leading me right now in terms of Twitter watchers. So I don't know about that. So I guess take me all the way back before any of this. Where did you grow up, and what was the version of Ben that I don't know nobody in the Bitcoin world will recognize?
Yeah, well, so my background is real estate, as you mentioned. I was 14 years old, and I was a computer nerd, and I came across, like, do you remember Wares when you were downloading programs and video? Anyway, so I was searching up like how to make money, and I came across Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad, and so I got his audiobook. I guess not. I didn't purchase it. I was 14. But anyway, I got that book, and it was just I read the book, and I was underlining every page and every sentence, and I always kind of I call them mini manuals. So I'll read a book when I get really fascinated, like I did with the Bitcoin Standard and many Bitcoin books. But I kind of distilled the book down after reading it a few times and kind of created a little manual. And so I was 14 when I came across investing, real estate. And actually, it was his book, or one of his books, that he introduced the concept of fiat money. So even at 14 years old, I came across the idea of political currency units, money by decree. And so he bluntly kind of put it: you're buying hard assets, real estate, gold, equities, and you're holding those against an inflating currency. And so I kind of had that I had that framework from an early age. And so I went all in on real estate. I'm in Fredericton, New Brunswick. I purchased a couple properties while I was in university, student rental housing. And it was kind of one of those, like, you're smart enough, but you're pretty lucky. The first property I acquired was a real gem. It was 2 units, 5 bedroom. So it was a real kind of a diamond. And subsequently, if I had bought the second, third, or fourth property first, or 1, 2, 3, I don't know if I'd be sitting here talking to you. But that first property really kind of carried the team until we kind of refined our process, knew what we were looking to acquire. And as I say, I had a business partner. We were 50-50 on a handshake, and we acquired 29 properties. I always would say 30 because it sounded better, but we got it to 29 properties, predominantly student rental housing, focused in Fredericton, New Brunswick, but we had one in Moncton, one in PEI, one in Wolfville. So we were looking to expand beyond our market, but management and when we started expanding, it was kind of just a little post-COVID, and the pricing kind of got a little away from us, and everybody kind of got onto our thesis. So anyway, to kind of that getting into real estate as an investment brought being a real estate agent. It kind of made sense to be on the forefront. So I spent 17 years being a real estate agent and running a sales business. Grew a small sales team, um, acquiring the properties that we did. We were always doing renovations, kind of that Burr model. And so we, over time, acquired or like had the need for kind of a full time handyman, but that turned into having a full construction company. So we were a 360 real estate office. I told people, you don't need to feel handcuffed to your real estate. I'd help people predominantly in the rental market. So when they bought, they didn't need to worry about the exit. They didn't need to worry about the management. They didn't need to worry about the renovation or fixing that toilet or renovating the bathroom. We could take care of it all. So, yeah, so my entire life has been one asset only, and that was real estate until Bitcoin.
Love it. I got a question for you, Ben. So, what did selling and financing, real estate teach you about money, value, and maybe risk that I guess no classroom ever could?
Yeah, that was a bit of a pain point with my education. Is I didn't find that it was really getting your hands in the clay, so to speak. Experiential. So getting into real estate, I mean, first and foremost, it kind of taught me a low time preference. Real estate really, in my opinion, is not a get rich quick scheme. There's a lot of I'd meet a lot of clients that kind of get excited by the Instagram kind of lifestyle where they think they're going to get into flipping properties, but in my opinion, that's really not where the value is, at least in my market where I came from. The real estate cash flow really kind of services the debt and allows you to kind of reinvest into your property. The equity really is the end goal. So real estate definitely taught me low time preference. It taught me to also stick with my thesis. Like I had a lot of individuals, friends that went into the real estate world, but they would kind of get distracted with different methodologies. Like somebody would buy a rental property, but then they'd want to build a new construction, and then they'd want to get into Airbnbs. We really kind of focused on, okay, 5 yards up the middle, let's just keep small ball. I was a baseball player, so just keep hitting singles and doubles, and those in time turn into home runs. The ability to eventually refinance a property debt free, or not debt free, sorry, but refinancing a property, pulling out that equity is not income. So you're able to inject liquidity in the future to purchase more properties. So people often ask me, like, how do you buy all these properties? I didn't really make an income that would justify that in a lot of people's eyes. So yeah, it's a long-term model, and so that's what I bring, to Bitcoin now. I see that as a long-term HODL asset. And so, yeah, that's what real estate brought to, that's what real estate taught me.
Do you think real estate's about to get demonetized by Bitcoin now, or what's your take?
I believe that Bitcoin is and will be the new denominator. Like that will be the eventual unit of account, and everything measured against Bitcoin is, trending downward. I think there's always going to be a need for what the three words in real estate is: location, location, location. So the desire need for land in high value areas where you can build and have productive like real estate can be used for productive reasons. So there's always going to be a need for high value real estate. I don't see that going away, but the speculative, this Airbnb, 5% down and you're going to rent bedrooms. That model is very much under, that's going to be challenged. So I think people are going. Everything's an opportunity cost, and I think Bitcoin is going to, being a fixed supply asset that has no physical decay risk. I don't see real estate being able to compete with that. So, yeah, I see real estate trending towards zero against Bitcoin.
But like you said, Bitcoin, I mean, real estate can be a productive asset, I guess, right? So Bitcoin can't. So I guess, are you just betting on the deflationary nature of Bitcoin and our inability to print it that would essentially outpace any sort of like potential upside on the real estate? Or do you think overall though, like the real estate market will shrink, I guess, considerably? I mean, if you look at the last 10, 12 years, it obviously has, right, in comparison. But
Yeah.
what's
Well,
your
I think real estate values are highly inflated due to the financial system that's built around it. Like
right?
you're highly
Mhm.
incentivized to put your money into real estate, through tax advantages, incentives, etc. And again, the financing, that the banks provide, that really kind of, in my opinion, inflates the asset. But I would kind of potentially push back on the Bitcoin is not a productive asset, because looking at things like digital credit, uh,
Mm.
I would kind of say that is potentially a use case. Bitcoin's many things to many people, and there are companies that are, building on top of Bitcoin, so to speak, by building a very large balance sheet of Bitcoin and then issuing, securities against that. So I would kind of say that is, a productive asset, so to speak.
Did you meet Sailor when you went down recently?
I have brushed shoulders with him a number of times, but have not been able to get a one-on-one handshake with him. But my father did when we were at the, unconference in New York. He got to spend a couple minutes with him. I got to spend a few minutes with Max there. So no, I have not yet shaken the man's, hand, but look forward to the one day doing so.
I have no idea why, but he follows me for some reason on Twitter. I think it might have been an accidental slip of his thumb. However, if he's watching now, what are you telling him?
Well, he builders build, and right now there is a strong negative sentiment against what he's doing. And, there's two sides of me. Like I got to Bitcoin as a sovereign individual, freedom maxi. Being in Canada, the trucker convoy was a pretty big wake up call for me. People's bank accounts being frozen, and, realizing it doesn't matter if you've got $10 or 10 million in the bank. It's not your money if you get locked out from it. So I came to Bitcoin for those reasons, and I am, many people would probably call me a financial, fiat Bitcoiner. I disagree. I've structured my life in such a way that it's, node running, self custody, take all of that very seriously. But that's kind of my defense, and I feel like that I've always felt innately that Bitcoin is capital. My father and I would call each other every day, and we'd always kind of land on the same question of like, but why would we spend this? And so I've always, maybe again, it's from my real estate background. I've always seen Bitcoin, uh, the use case predominantly is store of value, in my opinion. I believe that the medium of exchange is building, cash balances just are not there for, you know, a large portion of the population, and I think that will come. So what I say to Saylor is, you know, I mean, keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, like I am invested in those products, and this isn't financial advice for anybody, but I've structured it in such a way that Bitcoin base layer is my largest position. And, there's counterparty risks, there's government risks, there's bank risk, there's a lot of risk to investing in these equities. And that's why my savings is the largest portion. So, we're in the bear market doldrums, and the claws are out, and there's a lot of people kind of pounding the table. And I just look at his balance sheet, and I have a hard time seeing that he is not able to weather this storm and continue. So I think he just needs to keep doing what he's doing. But I think the recent things that are happening, like with Stretch, doesn't perform that well compared to SATA recently, and I think that has a lot to do more with market sentiment than the actual makeup of it. And so when he sold a large position of his USD reserve to pay half of that 2029 convert, the math makes sense to me, but I think the sentiment is overwhelmingly telling him that we value having a large reserve to be able to pay those dividends. So if I was to give Michael Saylor advice, which I'm not entirely sure he needs my advice, but I would say that to rebuild that reserve and focus more on market sentiment than necessarily just what the math tells you.
You've got the strategy hat on, and you've got the bull Bitcoin shirt on, right? Okay, we're gonna play this out. And Francis also follows me. I've known him like he's one of my favorite Bitcoiners, right? You work for Saylor. Saylor sees this clip, brilliant, number one sales guy. I'm bringing Ben on, and he's like, "I need you to go sell Francis."
Ooh.
What are you telling him?
Oh, I've actually I have interacted with Francis a few times. I was very, very grateful to have Francis come to our treasury event, the private treasury event that we had at the last Canadian Bitcoin conference. I've slipped into his DMs a few times. What would I tell Francis about the digital equity products? Is that your question?
You're selling him on strategy, the strategy behind strategy. I'm just so curious because you're like deep in the weeds, right? And you're wearing the two shirts, so you asked for it.
Well, yeah, I did ask for it. Well, I always kind of say I have the heart.
And I'm so proud of this question, by the way. This might be the best one ever.
Yeah, well, I wear this because I have the heart of a bull, but the mind of a strategist. That's kind of how I
love it.
I play it. So, I mean, I think the obvious, well, it's not obvious to everyone, but I think the clear reason to hold, or the clear thing for a company to do right now is to start focusing on their balance sheet and having Bitcoin as a store of value, and then being able to use the capital markets, the fiat market, or everyone kind of calls that, being a fiat Bitcoiner, but the largest pools of capital are tied up in areas that either cannot buy and hodl Bitcoin, or their mandates don't allow for it. And I see Bitcoin as not a light switch, as we're going to go from a fiat world to a Bitcoin world, as much as I see it as an erosion, and Bitcoin is going to underpin the transition. So I just I would say to Francis and to be open minded, and that many people just know what Bitcoin is, and we're so gosh down early that I would just say to be open minded.
Yeah, that would be an interesting. We should try and get those two guys in October on stage. That would be such a fun conversation. No,
That that would be a fun conversation. Yes,
I
absolutely.
would love that. I'd love that. So I guess when did Bitcoin first truly land for you? And I love like how you and your father, and I love your father, by the way. He's got such a beautiful smile. I remember I met him for the first time in El Salvador with his like Trump hat on, and he's just like such a delightful character and so thoughtful. And then to see the two of you guys like aligned on a mission, and it's just so inspiring. But can you go deeper into that? Like when that first moment that you heard about it, but when it actually clicked for you, like, do you remember that?
Well, yes, I think it was a number of things. Really understanding that this was a fixed supply in the very first, and in my opinion, the only fixed supply asset that will ever exist in a decentral nature for sure. That was an aha moment. Um, Once I set up a node and transacted on the Bitcoin network, that was also a really big aha moment of, I was kind of doing some coin control, and I was merging some UTXOs, and I moved an amount of value on a weekend, outside banking hours, and had it settle in 10 minutes. And every single time I do that, I get like, you know, I get I've helped a number of family members, and we sit down and we get their custody set up, and then we move them on chain, and and then doing those first transactions and kind of seeing their reactions, because like my uncle's a banker, and so when he moved some value outside banking hours and had that settle in 10 minutes, and you can see it in the mempool, and then you see it clear, and now there's your UTXO kind of verified and solidified in a block. That was a huge aha moment for me. So the network in and of itself, like we often just think of the asset and the price, but the utility of the network really is the base layer of this whole thing. And so being able to actually transact permissionless, without the need of a counterparty, and to have moving potentially thousands of dollars or much more for pennies is that's every single time I do that, I get excited.
So you're selling the last of your real estate to buy Bitcoin. Can you walk me through how you actually got to that decision? Like, was there a single moment that flipped you from interested to all in?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's you put those side by each, real estate versus Bitcoin, and this was a slow process. It took 5 years to kind of to go quote unquote all in. You have a highly liquid asset that you have a global demand for that product, right? So that's you don't need a local investor to be able to purchase your asset. You can sell that anywhere in the world. It is third party accounting, right? Like everybody running a node verifies this. So without having the need of local government jurisdictions and going through title and all that kind of, you have an asset that has zero decay, though it has 100% loss risk, right? Like custody is so important. So real estate, you've got roofs to replace and windows to replace. Bitcoin, you don't. But if your custody isn't, if you don't take care of that, you have 100% loss risk. So, but yeah, how did I get there? Over time, the comparison between the two just kept kind of pounding the table that this Bitcoin is a superior value. I've got 17 years in real estate, and I tripled my value, and I see Bitcoin being able to do that safely. And so there was we were kind of moving towards a Bitcoin acquisition machine, I would call it. We were doing like a treasury thing within the real estate company that I was in. But partners, we wanted to go in different directions. So long story short, there was an opportunity to kind of be bought out from my business partner. And I was at Strategy World 2024 when I kind of made the decision, like, yeah, this is where I want to spend my time. I want to be able to be a global citizen, and the things that you own end up owning you. And I didn't want to be tied to one place. And Bitcoin gives me that freedom. And yeah, the number go up is a massive benefit, which can't be understated. But freedom go up was much more important to me, and mobility go up was much more important to me. So that's kind of how I came to the final conclusion to go all in. And my timing is always incredible. I got into Bitcoin November 2021. I bought the top, rode it all the way down with the FTX and Celsius and Luna and all that crash. And subsequently, when I went all in on Bitcoin, sold October 7th, bought my Bitcoin October 8th, and then October 11th came. So, but again, back to what you were kind of saying, or what you were asking me earlier, real estate taught me low time preference, long-term thinking, and this drawdown by no means has me worried. And so yeah, I'm all in on Bitcoin, and now looking to kind of build within the community, and that's what I'm doing with the Canadian Bitcoin Conference.
What did you get wrong early on? Like any belief about Bitcoin or about money that you had to kind of like unlearn?
What did I get wrong about Bitcoin? Well, I think there's more I don't know about Bitcoin than I do. Like that's one thing that I feel is, there's a lot of infighting, which is a feature, not a bug, in Bitcoin and on X. And, even 5 years focusing most of my attention on Bitcoin, there's still so many things that I don't know. Like, I really couldn't explain the inner workings of Lightning or Liquid or Fediment. And so if there's anything I've got wrong, it's what I still yet to know. And so with Bitcoin, I have the opportunity cost, in my opinion, is just way too large to kind of plant the flag and say, I know what Bitcoin is, and this is what the use case is for it. So I am waiting to kind of find out what gets built on this thing, and how it will be used within society. So what I've gotten wrong is if you're married to your idea of what Bitcoin is, for those that are so opposed to the equities and the fiatizing of Bitcoin, the financialization of Bitcoin, and those that are so deep in that woods and not looking at it as medium of exchange, I would just say that you know, have a long-term thesis, and don't be so married to, oh, I know what this is. You know, where depending on when you believe the internet kind of started, it was 69 when DARPA kind of started the internet. So if we're following the internet's timeline, we're still pre HTTP and TCP/IP. Like, we're so gosh darn early that to know exactly where this is going, I think is a bit of a fool's errand, and I think that you're best suited to acquire. Use it, like I've used Lightning. By all means, I've made transactions with it, but I'm interested to see what gets built on this technology. I don't think we've even scratched the surface as to what's coming. So don't be married to your thesis.
Seems like wise words. So let's talk about right now. So you're building Industry Day for the Canadian Bitcoin Conference with Dan and team. So what are you actually trying to create in that room?
Well, so the Canadian Bitcoin Conference is 3 years going into its fourth year. I was very blessed to be able to get on stage last year, and I spoke with the True North team, Jeff Walton and Mason Ford, as well as got to be on stage with Lawrence Lepard. That was a real thrill. And then also got to be on stage with Jacob Asparian, One Bitcoin, to talk about the real estate versus Bitcoin as collateral. And
you were great, by the way. I think I already said that, but you were definitely my favorite host of that event. I'm serious, man. You made it funny and just really approachable.
I really appreciate that. I try to be as relatable as possible and speak the common language, because I feel I identify as pleb. And but yeah, so the Daniel and Wasim and Manuela reached out shortly after the conference to say, hey, we're interested in having an industry day, because retail education and going through and staying core to the sovereign individual, and making sure that we have the conferences as pure signal. That's very important to them, to us. But as a conference organizer, they want to cast a wide net, and they want to be open to where Bitcoin is going, and they see a trend with Bitcoin entering into industry. And so I have been on the network circuit. I've been going to a lot of conferences, and recently, in the last couple of years, where I knew I was exiting, I was most focused on capital allocation, and the Saylor, Bitcoin playbook has been very fascinating to me, because I feel like that's what I was doing within my own personal life. So very fortunate to kind of be at the first True North event, 2024, the first unconference in New York. And I've got to collaborate with a number of the treasury company operators. And so the conference said, hey, do you know these guys? Can we kind of arrange some meetings? And we've been able to successfully line up a number of the top names in the space. We're kind of finalizing working with the legal teams right now, so we want to be a bit cautious to say who absolutely is coming. But we have Strategy and Strive, and we have Smarter Web Company, and we're locking down a Japanese hotel company, and we have a number of treasury educators that are also interested in coming. After this, I'm going to meet with Tyler Rowe of BitcoinTreasuries.net. We're having lunch. So we're looking to bring this conversation to the Canadian market. Canada was once a leader in this space, and now it finds it as a laggard. We were the very first country to have an ETF, which was very innovative and forward-looking. We had Andreas Antonopoulos. I always have a hard time saying his last name. He was in our House of Commons in 2013 or 2014, speaking to our Parliament. And Canada was a leader. But subsequently, we've kind of, we have a central banker as our prime minister right now, and I don't think we are forward looking. So we feel that it's important to bring this conversation into the Canadian market. We believe that there is a large need in our country because we're very well positioned. We have a number of mining companies. Like, we are a very commodity focused country, and Bitcoin being digital commodity, digital commodity, we see a lot of synergy there. So we're just looking to bring that conversation north of the border, and we have a number of the Canadian Treasury companies that will be there. Liquid and Harvard. Oh my gosh! Anyway, we have Matador will be there as well. So we have a number of the Canadian Maple Strategy will be there. So we have a number of the Canadian companies that will also be in attendance.
Hey Ben, you have a hard stop around right now, right?
Yeah, I've got about another 5-10 minutes. Yeah.
Do you? Because I was gonna say we have quite a few people watching, so if you're down to keep riffing for a few more, I'd be open to it as well. But I want to be mindful of your schedule. Yeah, you okay?
Yeah.
Just let me know when I should pull the plug. I'll ask again in a few minutes. But who are you trying to get in front of each other at Industry Day, and what conversation do you think the Canadian Bitcoin scene is missing right now?
Who are we trying to get in front of? Well, again, without kind of naming the names, we have those companies that I just mentioned, and we have a number of other conversations going on. And we just, without going too far, we just kind of need to get the check mark from legal before we kind of promote. So the Industry Day is October 1st in Toronto, Canada, just for everyone to know. And I find that everybody kind of goes through a similar process. You start as an individual, educating yourself. You kind of put yourself on a Bitcoin standard. And then your next logical step for business operators is how does this work within my framework of operating a business and thinking about your employees and thinking about payroll. So we have individuals like John Tellis. He's an accountant, and his business partner is legal. So they bring a lot of education on how that would work, as well as Rajat Soni. I think you're familiar with Rajat. So I hope I'm not over speaking, but I'm quite confident he'll be there. So the conversation in Canada still is very much, it's fairly early in bringing that. What is Bitcoin and what does Bitcoin on the balance sheet mean to them? We're not at the point of having large treasury companies quite yet, though we do have a number that are building in the space. And we kind of have a regulatory body in Canada that is a bit a wait and see approach. And we're just trying to change that conversation, bring that conversation to Parliament. We have a number of conversations with a few of the political parties. We do hope to have them in attendance for their education as well. So we're just trying to create the space for the conversation to take place, and let the leaders in the space be able to explain what they're doing and and how they're innovating and taking their companies through this world of uncertainty. Uh, we have a lot of currency risk. We have a lot of AI disruption ahead of us, and Bitcoin, in my opinion, is the answer to that. And so, yeah, you've got the Canadian Bitcoin Conference website in front of you. Thank you very much for that. So, I would encourage anybody that is interested in Bitcoin, into the Bitcoin equities and investment side of things, to look at Industry Day. Industry Day will get you a ticket to the conference as well. And yeah.
That's exciting, man. That's very, very exciting. I've been to this conference now. This will be like year number 3, I think, for me, and I just love what they're doing. Hey, full disclosure, I actually Dan made me a partner at Canadian Bitcoin Conference. I don't think I've ever said that publicly. So yeah, I was kind of thinking about getting back in the conference game. I used to do some ginormous events back in, I don't know, 2016 to 2018, I think. And yeah, he's like, dude, let's combine forces. And I absolutely love the brand. I love like what they're doing, and feels like home. And Ben, getting to work with you guys like you, man. Oh my goodness, this is like next level stuff here.
Well, yeah, I was at well, I've been to every Canadian Bitcoin conference, but going to the very first one in Toronto at the Chelsea Hotel, and there was 250 odd people, and there was just so much signal in the room. And I've been to a number of conferences, and I just, I'm plugging here right now, but the signal price to signal ratio is quite enormous. So the access to speakers like yourself, when I went to that first Canadian conference, I didn't know who Sunny Ray was, and when you told your story about building an exchange in India, and I thought that was just you really impressed me, and all the speakers that were there were really quite Tomer Stromlight and Lawrence Lepard's always there, and we've had Eric Yates and just a number of high profile, and Francis Pouliot's always there. So Adam O'Brien, name dropping right now. But for anyone within the Canadian market, if you have not yet been to a Canadian conference, you're really doing yourself a disservice to being able to go up and shake hands, because I'm here on a podcast with Sunny Ray simply because I went to the Canadian Bitcoin Conference, and I've got to meet and know Jeff Walton, and I get to consider Leon Vankum a friend. These are people that, like, back to what I was saying, the most asymmetric opportunities are study Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, network with Bitcoiners. These are the future leaders of the new monetary transition that we're going through. And you really, by all means, you get to interact, and you get to kind of have your online connections there. But this really kind of puts hand to hand, get to shake, and you also get a real strong, it re-solidifies your conviction, because again, there's not that I've ever doubted Bitcoin, but you go through these periods of kind of questioning, because Bitcoin, if you zoom out, it's moving so fast. But when you're really in the thick of it, it also can feel like we're not making as much progress. And when you get to these events and you see the operators and all the companies that are building in the space, it really opens up your eyes and opens up the doors. Like anyone that's interested in getting into this industry, you need to be at these conferences, and if you're in Canada, you need to be at the Canadian Bitcoin Conference, because it'll massively open doors for you.
Okay, help me land the plane. I know you got to run quick. So 5 years out, if the Bitcoin as digital capital thesis plays out, kind of like the thesis that you've been really adhering to. So what does Canada and your own life look like?
Wow. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, Bitcoin for me is sovereignty and freedom go up. So I have noticed there is a trend amongst Bitcoiners that are. Have you read the book The Sovereign Individual? Did you read that book?
Of
Yeah,
course.
and I see that playing out, and I love my country, and I'm very hopeful that we will go from being a laggard back to being an innovator and a leader. And so I'm very hopeful for Canada. Uh, but Bitcoin provides the individual the power to make a decision for oneself. So I personally am looking at where is capital best uh, treated, and so speaking to that, we will have companies like Citizen X and Plan B Passport. So we'll have some companies in there that will be able to help any individual that's looking to broaden their horizon. And so yeah, and I'm very hopeful that Canada will see what's coming, and I think we will get there. In terms of Bitcoin, I see Bitcoin eroding the system much more than it usurping the system. So I see that capital or Bitcoin is weaving its way through the system slowly, and I think it'll be one day everyone wakes up and wait a minute, what is this thing? How did we get here? So yeah, I'm quite positive, quite hopeful for the future. Bitcoin is hope, and so that's why you want to come to Canada, come to the conference, and meet all the hopeful people.
Yes, sir. We'll be there. It's gonna be a blast. Ben, thank you so much. Dude, this is like the most number of live stream viewers I've had in a very long time. So to me, that's like most likely me, but I'm guessing it's you. You need to start a regular show. We need to do something, I would say. Like we should do something with Dan and the guys, like outside of maybe the other one you guys are doing, or bring it all together, but to do a weekly recap where we just jam, bring on guests like that. Like, I think a lot, like just you and me are like there's like 100 people almost here watching. Like imagine if we had a couple others.
Yeah, well, I would. So we have started the Canadian Bitcoin Conference podcast. It will be for both sides of the story, for the individual, for the corporate individual. We'll be bringing past speakers. We'll be bringing up upcoming speakers, and we very much, Sonny, you are one of the team members. So we very much want to have you on that podcast as a recurring host. So
Lovely, lovely. Can't wait, man. Ben, but this has been a delight, absolute pleasure. Oh man, I don't even want this one to end, but I know you got to go, so we'll do another one, yeah, in the coming weeks when you're available. Thank you all for tuning in. Really, really appreciate it. And yeah, normally it's just like my mom and my wife listening, but this is awesome. I'm kidding. Ben, thanks, man. I'm gonna bring this one to an end. Hey, Ben, where do people tap into your, I don't know, consciousness? Is it like LinkedIn? Are you blogging somewhere? I guess Twitter I see you nowadays, right?
Twitter's where I do my most trolling and my most shitcoining, dunking. So yeah, Ben Schmidt BTC is my Twitter handle. I'm not on the LinkedIn. I'm not on the Facebook. I'm not on the Instagram. I'm pretty much an ex troll. So that's where you can find me, and please reach out if anybody's interested in the conference. Would love to get you plugged in, and would love to engage with anybody that's interested in. And yeah, if there's any real estate, individuals out there that are looking to understand it a bit more, that's kind of my bread and butter, and that's where I can really speak to. So if there's anybody in that world, please reach out to me. And yeah, we are. I'm quite certain we have the author of Digital Real Estate coming to our conference, Leon Vankum. So He will be a real delight for everyone that is not aware of him. So he's exciting, and his book is just launching. So Digital Real Estate's a great book for any real estate Bitcoiners out there.
All right. I'm going to let you go, buddy. We're 1:59. Thank you all for tuning in. And until next time, Ben, hang back for 1 second. Let me bring this stream to an end.